Okay, picture this. It's the first warm day of spring. You head out to the shed, grab your favorite pruning shears, and they're completely rusted shut. Or worse, you go to start your expensive robotic mower, and the battery is just totally dead. In this explainer, we're going to learn exactly how to properly prep and protect your garden equipment from the harsh upcoming winter. It's a huge bummer when gear breaks, right? And it begs the question, will your expensive gear actually survive the silent winter threat? Because ice, moisture, and sub-zero temperatures are literally out there quietly destroying equipment in sheds everywhere as we speak. But hey, don't worry, that's exactly why we're here. By the end of this explainer, you'll have a rock-solid, timeless strategy to safeguard the whole shebang from simple hand tools to complex smart tech. We've got a clear, practical roadmap for today. We'll start by breaking down this silent winter threat, then move through batteries and smart tech, gas engines, hand tools, purging irrigation systems, and finally wrap it all up with a quick checklist. Let's dive right in. All right, part one. Let's talk about the silent winter threat itself and how this gear deterioration actually happens. So here's the absolutely crucial point. You can't just leave your equipment sitting in a cold, uninsulated shed. Doing that triggers these nasty physical and chemical processes that will literally ruin your gear before spring even rolls around. It's not just taking a nap during the off-season. Without proper prep, it is actively deteriorating. Moisture in the air causes this rapid oxidation, and any trapped water, well, it physically expands and can actually fracture solid metal. It's kind of like a ticking time bomb for your tools. Moving right along to part two, let's look at batteries and smart tech and see what it takes for them to survive the cold. Now, as the mercury drops, the liquid electrolyte inside your lithium-ion cells basically turns into a thick syrup. Look specifically at those freezing point and crystallization zones. When the chemistry gets that cold, it dangerously spikes the internal resistance. Your battery might just seem like it's resting temporarily, but I promise you, if handled wrong, that sleep becomes permanent. Which brings us to a golden rule you absolutely must remember. Never ever charge a lithium battery below freezing. If you do, it causes something called irreversible lithium plating. Because that electrolyte is so thick and sluggish, forcing energy into the battery causes the lithium ions to just pile up on the surface instead of absorbing properly. This metallic buildup permanently kills the battery's capacity, and it can literally puncture the internal separators. We're talking severe short circuits here. So what happens if your battery does get cold soaked out in the garage? Well, you have to follow this exact sequence to safely thaw it out. First off, bring it into a warm room, somewhere around 65 to 75 degrees. Now you have to wait patiently. Give it at least 2 to 4 hours to warm up to the core. Actually, let me emphasize this next part. Never, under any circumstances, use a hairdryer or a space heater to rush this. Rushing it causes internal condensation, which is basically giving your battery water damage from the inside out. Only plug in the charger once it's completely acclimatized. Now, here's a really fascinating exception when it comes to smart tech, specifically robotic mowers. While your standard power tool batteries usually prefer being stored at a partial charge, robotic mowers actually require a nearly full charge, usually 85 to 100%, before they go into indoor winter hibernation. Also, make sure to clean the chassis, swap out the old blades so they don't rust onto the cutting disc, enable those frost guard settings, and always bring the main charging station indoors. Though, note that some base plates, like the narrow ones, can stay outside. All right, on to part three. Let's pivot from sensitive battery chemistry to the mechanical preservation of gas engines and pressure washers. This is a really stark contrast here. Gas engines need the exact opposite approach compared to batteries. You absolutely must run them completely dry. Leaving fuel in the tank over the winter is a massive, expensive mistake. Over those few cold months, that leftover fuel degrades into this hard, sticky sludge that will completely clog your carburetor. It eats away at the rubber lines and rusts out the metal components. Just run it dry, folks. And for your pressure washers, these actionable steps are completely non-negotiable. Any residual water left hiding inside will freeze, expand, and crack open your expensive brass or aluminum pump housings. First, pull the trigger to depressurize the system. Then, use an air compressor set to a low 20 to 30 psi, max 40, to blow out the standing water. Finally, fill up that pump with some RV or marine antifreeze. But listen closely to this crucial takeaway if you want to save your wallet. Never, ever use automotive antifreeze. You want to strictly use non-toxic pump saver or RV propylene glycol. Car antifreeze is not only a major environmental hazard if it gets sprayed onto your lawn next spring, but it will literally dissolve the neoprene seals right inside your pump. Let's keep rolling to part 4, hand tools and blades, and how to stop rust in its tracks. You know, the basic hand tools often get neglected, right? But you can use this rapid-fire checklist to rescue them. Keep in mind that leftover plant sap and soil will heavily accelerate rust and wood rot, mostly because dirt traps moisture right against the metal. So scrub them down with a stiff wire brush and soap, sand off any rust spots you see, disinfect the blades with a little alcohol so you aren't spreading plant diseases next year, then give the metal parts a generous coat of vegetable oil or WD-40, rub down any wooden handles with linseed oil, and finally, hang them up. Don't let them rest on a damp garage floor. Okay, part 5. We are tackling the big one, purging irrigation systems to prevent catastrophic freezing. If you logically follow these steps to blow out your underground lines with air, even a complete beginner can save their pipes from expanding ice. Hook up your compressor to the system inlet and go zone by zone to push all that standing water out. Now, the real secret here is step 3. Leave all your valves and solenoid bleeders slightly open for the winter. This is a real game changer because it gives any leftover stubborn condensation room to safely expand without bursting your plastic fittings. Oh, and don't forget to clean out the filter and unplug that central programmer. All right, we've made it to part 6. Time for our final checklist and a quick disclaimer to wrap things up. Taking just a couple of hours this weekend to run through these preparations translates directly into years of extended life for your gear. Like this quote highlights, improper storage is literally the leading cause of premature failure in lithium-ion battery scenarios. Taking the time to do this right is absolutely the single best return on investment you can make for your garden shed. And before we completely wrap up, I do need to quickly cover this professional disclaimer. This guide is for informational purposes based on general principles. You should always double-check the manufacturer's manual for your specific tools. Whether we're talking about the exact storage voltage for a unique battery or the specific oil weight for your mower engine, the manufacturer always has the final word. Make sure you check it. So armed with all this knowledge, what piece of equipment are you going to winterize first to ensure it's totally ready for action next spring? Winterizing is kind of like a giant puzzle, but now you have all the pieces. I really hope this structured approach has empowered you to protect your hard-earned investments. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy winterizing!